Right now, you're probably going to eat something cooked today. Maybe you already did. Toast, eggs, coffee, whatever heat touched it before you did. Here's the thing, that simple act of putting food over fire isn't just a kitchen habit. It's one of the oldest habits humans have. Older than farming, older than pottery, older than language as we know it, probably. The question is, when did some ancient human first look at raw meat, throw it in a fire, and decide that was a good idea? And why did that decision basically build the human brain? Let's go back to the beginning. About 2 million years ago, our ancestors, not quite human yet, more like Homo habilis and early Homo erectus, were eating a mostly raw diet. Roots, tough plants, scavenged meat, and chewing all of that took forever, like hours a day. Their jaws were massive, their guts were long, because raw food is hard to break down and your body has to work overtime to pull calories out of it. Then something changes, fast evolutionarily speaking. Homo erectus shows up around 1.9 million years ago with smaller teeth, a smaller gut, and here's the wild part, a bigger brain. And brains are expensive. They burn calories like crazy, about 20% of your total energy right now, just sitting there thinking. So the question anthropologists asked was simple. How did an animal with a shrinking digestive system afford a growing brain? Primatologist Richard Wrangham had an answer that shook up the field. He called it the cooking hypothesis. His argument, cooking is what paid the bill. Here's why that matters so much. Cooking isn't just about taste, it's chemistry. Heat breaks down tough proteins and starches before they even reach your stomach. It's basically pre-digestion. Wrangham's studies showed that cooked food gives you dramatically more usable calories than the same food raw, sometimes close to double. Same ingredients, way more fuel. Think about that, fire wasn't just warmth and safety, it was an external stomach. So early humans weren't just eating better, they were suddenly running a calorie surplus. And evolution loves a surplus. It gets spent on things like, say, growing the most energy-hungry organ in the animal kingdom. But here's the problem with this theory, and it's a big one. Fire evidence that old is almost impossible to find. Fire doesn't fossilize. A campfire from 1.8 million years ago doesn't leave a nice clean signature in the dirt. It leaves ash, and ash blows away, washes away, gets buried under a million years of geology doing its thing. So for decades, this was mostly an educated guess based on anatomy, not proof from a fire pit. Then came Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa. In 2012, researchers led by Francesco Berna found burned bone fragments and ash plant remains deep inside the cave, dated to around 1 million years ago. And deep inside a cave is the key detail. This wasn't a wildfire that swept through. Wildfires don't wander 100 meters underground and stack ash in tidy layers. Someone brought the fire in there, on purpose. That's the oldest strong evidence we have of controlled fire use. 1 million years old, before Homo sapiens even existed as a species. Here's what makes this so important. Controlling fire means controlling a tool that can kill you if you get it wrong. It means someone had to keep it fed, protect it from rain, probably carry embers between camps. That's planning, that's memory. That's teaching the next generation how not to burn the whole forest down. Cooking wasn't a random accident, it became a full-time job passed down through a group. And once that job existed, everything sped up. Jump forward to around 400,000 years ago, at a site called Qesem Cave in Israel. Archaeologists found a hearth used repeatedly over and over in the same spot, with animal bones showing clear cut marks and roasting damage right next to it. This wasn't, oh look, fire happened here once. This was a kitchen, a regular one. Generation after generation of early humans coming back to the exact same fire pit to cook. By this point, cooking wasn't a discovery anymore, it was infrastructure. And that infrastructure changed human bodies permanently. Compare a Homo erectus skull to an older Australopithecus skull and the jaw practically shrinks in front of you. Smaller teeth, smaller chewing muscles, a gut that's lighter and shorter because it doesn't need to grind through raw fiber for 6 hours anymore. Cooking did the grinding for us. And all those calories and time that used to go into digestion, they went somewhere else, into a brain that basically tripled in size between early Homo habilis and modern Homo sapiens. Let that sink in for a second. The reason you can read this sentence, do math, plan next week, feel bored, invent conspiracy theories about the moon landing, a huge chunk of the raw material for that came from something as simple as roasting a piece of meat over a fire 400,000 generations ago. But here's a twist that makes this even stranger. Cooking didn't just change our bodies. It changed our social lives. You can't really grab and go with a fire the way you can with raw scavenged food. A fire is stationary. It needs guarding, feeding, tending. So groups had to gather around it, wait for food to cook, and probably talk while they waited. Some anthropologists argue the campfires where early human storytelling, teaching, and social bonding really took off. Not the cave paintings, not the tools. The dinner table basically a few 100,000 years before there was a table. Kind of makes family dinner feel less like a modern tradition and more like a 500,000-year-old habit we never actually stopped doing. Here's the full picture. It starts nearly 2 million years ago with a species whose body was struggling to afford the calories for a bigger brain. Fire and cooking show up as the loophole. Food that digests faster, delivers more energy, costs less to chew. By 1 million years ago at Wonderwerk Cave, someone is deliberately carrying fire into the dark. By 400,000 years ago at Qesem Cave, it's not a discovery anymore, it's a routine, a hearth used again and again. And along the way, smaller jaws, smaller guts, and bigger brains follow right behind it. Cooking didn't just feed early humans, it built the hardware that lets you sit here right now understanding all of this. So the next time you're waiting for something to finish cooking, impatiently checking the oven, scrolling your phone while the pan sizzles, you're doing something your ancestors were doing a million years before anyone wrote a word down. Same fire, same wait, same payoff. Being human, it turns out, might start with something as simple as deciding raw wasn't good enough. If you want more of these deep dives into the weird, ancient roots of everyday habits, stick around, there's a lot more where this came from.